When you just begin crafting, it can be a little bit overwhelming. There's so many different things that you'll need for your craft room, and it's really hard to know what exactly are you going to need. Well, today I thought I would share with you my top 24 craft room tools and some of the supplies to help get you started. So let me share with you my most favorite 24 items to have in my craft room for 2024.
It all just goes away. The things I plan to say. Oh baby.
Hello, happy crafters. It's me, Lisa, the DIY Diva. And today I wanted to share with you my most favorite 24 different craft supplies and tools that I have in my craft room. If you're just getting into crafting, it can seem a little bit overwhelming. There are so many different tools and machines and even supplies that you can buy, and you're probably using your crafting as an outlet for fun, getting to create something, and you don't necessarily want to spend a lot of money doing that. You may not have the space or the storage for all of these different supplies. So having somebody to recommend or tell you different tools or supplies that you may need can be really helpful. And I myself have watched videos like these where different crafters share what their favorite tools and supplies are. The one thing that really stands out to me is I really should call this the affordable craft supplies and tools, because like I said, there are a lot of tools that are super expensive, and I don't necessarily think you need to have those. Sure, it can make your crafting a little bit easier, but if you're on a budget, you want to have the tools that you're going to get the most out of and not have to spend a lot of money. So let's get into it. Now, for a lot of different crafting, you're going to need a hot glue gun. And honestly, the hot glue gun that I use, it's awesome. It has a high temp and a low temp, and it even has a removable cord. Now, I've seen a lot of other different types of glue guns, and this one doesn't have the precision tip, but for the different types of crafts that I've used it for, this glue gun has worked really well for me. So I have to say, one of my most favorite tools is my Monvict dual temperature glue gun. This thing is awesome. Now, another tool that's really helpful is having a water bucket for paintbrushes. Doesn't matter if you're doing acrylic type painting or watercolors, whatever. Having a place to keep your paintbrushes when you're in the middle of a project is really helpful. This way you don't have to jump up and run and wash out your paintbrush. This little water bucket actually has two different compartments, and what I typically will do is fill up one of them with warm water and also a little bit of Dawn dish soap. Am I supposed to be using Dawn dish soap for washing my paintbrushes? I don't know, but this method has not seemed to harm my paintbrushes. I am incredibly hard on paintbrushes, and I still have 99% of them. I think the ones that I don't have anymore are ones that I got at the Dollar Tree. And since I'm on the topic of paintbrushes, let's talk about paintbrushes. Now, I found these paintbrushes that have a rubber grip. These are probably my favorite types of paintbrushes to use. They are so handy, and they really help to keep your hands stable when you're in the middle of a project. If you're doing a larger project or even more detailed work, these paintbrushes are really great. And this is more of a supply, but I love the super glue wood glue that you can find at the Dollar Tree. Yeah, it's $1.25, but this size of a glue bottle lasts a really long time. This is 2 ounces of glue, and it's awesome. So every time I go to the Dollar Tree, I do get a couple of these just to make sure I have a stockpile of the wood glue. And while we're on the topic of glue, E6000, this stuff is awesome. I think this works really well for those crafting projects that you really need to have a permanent bond. E6000 is going to give that to you. And this is actually a product I would not recommend buying online because it's really expensive. If you go on Amazon, you can find E6000, but it's going to cost $8 or $9. If you go to Walmart or even Hobby Lobby, you can find a 2-ounce bottle of E6000 for around $3.97. I think it's more affordable to buy it that way versus buying it from Amazon. But if you don't have any options, Amazon does have it. It's just going to be a lot more expensive. And I cannot stress enough the importance of scissors. I have so many pair of scissors hanging up on my pegboard right now. If I'm counting them, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pair of scissors that are hanging up. One pair is not hanging up because I just got them to replace my old Fisker scissors that I can't find. So Fisker scissors are wonderful for the craft room. They work great for cutting paper as well as cutting lots of other things that you may be cutting in your craft room. And they're actually very affordable too. Now, another tool that I love to have in my craft room is my Husky nipping tool. This thing is a beast. I've seen where people talk about miter shears and different scissors and stuff like that, but for me, if I had to pick one tool, the Husky nipping tool, it is incredible. It works so well. It cuts very easily, especially if you're working with florals and different wires. These nipping tools are incredible. Now, I've had a really hard time finding them online. I have been able to find some that are very similar, and like everything else that I'm talking to you about today, I do have links in the description box below in case you want to check any of these tools or supplies out for yourself. But the Husky nipping tools are amazing, and I believe I found these at Home Depot several years ago, so I'm going to look and see if I can put a link in the description for the Husky nipping tools from Home Depot as well. Now I kind of have to jump back because I was talking about paintbrushes earlier and I should have mentioned these at that time, and that is chip style paintbrushes. Now these paintbrushes, you can find them at Home Depot, you can find them on Amazon and get like big packages of them, but the chip brushes are so wonderful for big projects, actually even little projects. If you're doing things like distressing or you want to add a little bit more texture to a project, the chip paintbrushes are great. I got a huge set of them on Amazon recently, all different sizes, and it was less than $10. And you can find them at the Dollar Tree as well. They'll be in the automotive section. And they last forever. They are incredible, and I will probably never have to buy chip paintbrushes again because of this set that I found on Amazon. I keep saying that this is one of my favorite tools, but this honestly is. This has been a game changer, and that is the silicone mat for crafting. I love these things so much. The first one I got was a smaller version of the larger mats, and then I got a dark gray one, and then I got a green one, and then I got like a teal colored one. And the reason I have so many of them is because I do so many crafts for making videos that it's really hard to run and clean them in between doing all of the different crafts, but I'm trying to have kind of a clean workspace when to showcase what I'm working on. So having a couple of different sizes or a couple of the same size large silicone mats are really, really helpful for your craft room. They're actually very affordable too. Now I did buy one, I think probably 6 months ago on Temu, but the silicone mat from Temu is nowhere near as good as the silicone mats that I found on Amazon. The Temu mat is super thin and it just doesn't work very well. So I find that the mats that I have from Amazon are my absolute favorite, and those are the ones that I keep going back and buying more of them. And it's not because they've worn out or they're no good. It's because I love them so much. Oh, and every once in a while, if you go to the Dollar Tree, sometimes they do have silicone mats, and I was able to get one from them a long time ago, and every time I go I look for them, but they never seem to have them. But the silicone mat that I found at Dollar Tree is the perfect size to sit underneath your glue gun. So if your glue gun starts to leak, you will just keep it on the silicone mat, and then you don't have to worry about getting little glue clumps on your work surface, because sometimes those can be really hard to remove. Now this next supply is gonna sound a little bit silly, but slap bracelets. Yeah, slap bracelets aren't just for wearing. They actually work really well for storing different products together. Like if you have rolled paper, gift wrap, and my favorite use for them is around rolls of vinyl. I have a lot of different sizes of vinyl rolls that once you open them, they tend to unravel. But if you put a slap bracelet or two around the vinyl material, it will help to keep it rolled up and keep everything organized and not such a mess. Now I learned about this next tool recently with going crazy into all of my heat transfer things that I'm doing. I am having so much fun with the heat transfer vinyl on mugs, on tumblers, even t-shirts, but sometimes when you put the vinyl down, it tends to roll up, especially if you're working with sublimation paper. So then you have to use the heat safe tape to keep your design in place. Well, I didn't have a tape dispenser for a long time, and I would be cutting off little pieces of tape. So I found a tape dispenser on Amazon, and this works wonderful. This is perfect for the heat tape that's the big huge roll. You can use this with the larger rolls of tape, or you can use it with the smaller rolls of tape, and it makes it a lot easier to easily tear pieces of tape off when you're getting ready to do a project, instead of having little pieces of tape all along your desk or your workspace. This is much easier. Just get a tape dispenser. They're very affordable, and you'll be so happy to have it, especially if you're going to be doing a lot of work with sublimation paper or anything for heat transferring. Now, sometimes when you're working with different mediums in your craft room, it's really helpful to have a caulking gun. So you can find caulking guns online or at Home Depot. I actually found this one and it is a little bit messy, but this caulking gun is awesome, and I got this on Amazon, and this thing has been so helpful. If you're doing big projects, or if you're using liquid nails, which is a wonderful adhesive for crafts, having a caulking gun makes it so much easier. And you can actually use the caulk, like this is painter's caulk. You can use it for lots of different projects. Instead of using spackling and different mediums like that, you can use caulking. It's a lot more cost effective, and depending on how you're using it, it can be less messy too. And the caulking gun makes it a lot easier to use. So this size of caulking will cost about $1.50 if you get it at Home Depot. And they do sell caulking at Dollar Tree too, but the ones I've seen, it's like the little squeezy tube, and sometimes if you don't have a lot of strength, those are hard to squeeze. With a caulking gun, it's much easier, and it's more affordable too. That's a lot more caulk for 25 cents more. And I mentioned it just a minute ago, liquid nails. Liquid nails is so wonderful to work with. This is the ultimate in adhesives for craft projects. Just like the painter's caulk, it does come in a 10-ounce tube. It is a little bit more expensive. It's around $5 for a tube that size, but if you have a project that you want to make sure is going to stick together, trust me, liquid nails is incredible. You don't have to use very much, and it will definitely hold your projects together. Liquid nails is amazing. This little mini vacuum is so incredible. I actually watched somebody else's video. I don't even know. It was probably 4 or 5 years ago. And I was like, okay, I'll give this thing a try. But this little mini desktop vacuum is awesome. It has a USB plug so you can recharge it, and it's cordless. If you're working with like paper or glitter or things like that, I would highly encourage you to get one of these mini desktop vacuums. This thing is awesome, and it really works well. All right, the next tool that I'm going to tell you about, it is a little bit expensive, but if you are getting into heat transfer vinyl at all, I think this is definitely worth the price. And that is the HTV RONT Auto Heat Press. This thing is incredible. It's less than $200. It has a really nice table that pulls out. You don't have to worry about how much pressure that you're putting onto your project. It takes care of everything for you automatically. Now, Cricut has an auto heat press too, but it's like $1,000. To me, that is way too much money. There is no way that I could justify spending $1,000 for an auto heat press just for something to have, you know, to make t-shirts and iron-ons, things like that. There's no way I could afford it. But the HTV RONT Auto Heat Press, much more affordable, and this thing is a workhorse. I have made so many t-shirts and done so many transfers with this heat press, and I cannot say enough good things about it. So if you're really getting serious into heat transfer and Cricut and things like that, I really think it's worth the investment, or maybe that's something that you can save up for. And I keep saying it, that is one of my favorite tools to have in my craft room. Which leads me to the second most expensive purchase that I made in my craft room, and that is my Cricut Maker. I love the Cricut Maker, but if you're just dipping your toes into the vinyl world and cutting things out and things like that, you can also go with the Cricut Explore Air 2. Now, I had that one, and that one is a lot more affordable, but I wanted the Maker because the Maker is able to cut a lot more materials than the Explore Air 2 is. But the good thing about the Explorer Air 2 is now that they have the Explorer Air 3, the Explorer Air 2 is a lot cheaper. And I'm pretty sure you can find them for less than $150, sometimes less if you are able to wait until there is a sale. Then you can sometimes find them for $100. Or if you're really getting into the vinyl and you want to step it up, I love my Cricut Maker. They do have the Cricut Maker 3, but again, that's more expensive. So if you go with the older version, you're gonna save money. And that's what I did. I have the Cricut Maker. I believe I got mine at Hobby Lobby when they were having a really great sale, and it was probably, I want to say it was around $199. So between that and my heat press, those are the most expensive items that I have in my craft room. And to me, they're totally worth it. Another tool that I am having so much fun with, I love this thing, is my mini table saw. I love this saw. It is so adorable. It is so cute. And I've actually made videos where I show you that I'm using it because it is so fun. You can find different versions on Amazon. I will leave a link to the one that I have because it's worked really well for me and it's super easy to cut. You can cut at different angles. It's super safe as long as you're following the guidelines for safety. But this is a really, to me, it was a must-have for my craft room. All right, these are super tiny. Can you see those? These things are awesome. These are little mini clamps. And you can find these at the Dollar Tree. You can get a 6-pack for $1.25, and they have so many uses. If you are working on a project, you need to clamp something together, you want to put some different papers together, lots of different uses for these in your craft room. I have 2 packs of them because I always seem to run out of them and sometimes I misplace them. But if you try and keep your craft room organized, you won't misplace your clamps. And sometimes they can be hard to find at the Dollar Tree, but keep looking. They are in the crafting section. I think these are by Crafter Square, but super, super helpful. They also have larger ones where you get a 2-pack, but these guys come in a 6-pack, and I've been really happy with them, and I really think that these would be great for your craft room too. Now, the one thing with the E6000, Gorilla Glue, even the B7000 glue, is once you get like halfway down, it can be really hard to get the adhesive out. And I am happy to say that there is a product that makes it a lot easier so that you are going to get all of the glue out of the container. And that is a tube turnkey. These things are so helpful. They're around $12, but you get 4 of them. You can even use them on your toothpaste tube too to make sure you get all of your toothpaste as well. I really like this style because they are metal and they're heavy duty. So no more struggling with the E6000. I can just put a tube turnkey on it and I can be sure I am going to be able to use everything that's in this tube of glue. Now my 21 most favorite item is more of a supply, and that is vinyl and HTV vinyl. So vinyl, I'm talking permanent vinyl, and the HTV is the heat transfer vinyl. And my most favorite place to buy these different types of vinyls is HTV Ront. Before I even had my HTV Ront heat press, I had purchased their products, the vinyl and the HTV. I was like, oh my gosh, this is HTV Ront. And now, oh my gosh, I have an HTV Ront auto press. Everything that I've gotten from HTV Ront, I've been extremely happy with. And I always go to Amazon and buy my vinyl and my HTV. Sometimes I'll buy the kits, but if I need a big roll of something, then usually I will get the HTV Ront vinyl because it works so well. I don't ever have any issues with the weeding or the material coming off the backing. It's reliable and I don't want to get stressed out when I'm crafting. So I like to have something that I know and that works. And it's also affordable. And speaking of vinyl, when you're transferring this vinyl, especially the permanent vinyl, you need transfer tape for it. And thankfully, Frisco Craft has been amazing with the transfer tape. So the transfer tape is the sticky stuff that you put the vinyl onto. And it's been my experience in the past that sometimes different styles of transfer tape, it's really hard to get the vinyl off, or it's really hard to remove the transfer tape from the vinyl when you get it onto the project, or sometimes it'll even remove the finish from my project. I've never had any issues with the Frisco Craft transfer tape, and they come in these big rolls, so they are very cost effective and they last forever. Now my next tool is going to sound a little bit odd, but I really think that this is a tool for the craft room, and that is Cricut Design Space, the membership. This is the membership where you pay, I think it's $4.99 or $9.99 a month. I can't remember. That's horrible, isn't it? But I get so much use out of Cricut Design Space. There are so many more fonts that I can use, so many more images or shapes, so much more with the Cricut Access membership. I can also upload as many of my images into Design Space as I want. I'm not limited. So for me, it's just worth it to have that membership. And I believe that when you first get your Cricut machine, they do give you a 30-day trial. If you're just getting into the cutting machines and you get a Cricut, I would definitely recommend to give it a try and really get in there, dive deep, and see what you can find. I think you'll find that the Access membership is definitely worth it. I know I have. And besides my craft desk, which I made, and I actually have a video showing you step by step how I made this craft desk because I love my desk. Something else that has been extremely helpful for me is this cart. It's called the Honeydew cart, and it is on Amazon. This cart is awesome, and this is where my Cricut machine lives. Underneath that, there are 12 different storage drawers, so I can store lots of different things in, and everything has a home. To me, that is so important in my craft room, that everything has to have a home. That way, I know where it is. That is, if I remember to put it back when I'm done using it. Sometimes that doesn't happen. But with this storage cart, everything can have a home. What's really nice about this cart, besides the 12 different storage drawers, it also came with this pocket that is hooked to the side of it, and that is actually where I store all of my electronic stuff. For doing my videos and anything that I want to film, any cords, that's where I keep everything. So everything in my craft room has a home. There are so many more things. I'm sitting here looking around my craft room going, oh, I didn't mention that. Oh, I didn't mention that. But I will save that for another video. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and then click that bell notification. That way you'll be alerted every time I have a new video coming out. And I cannot tell you thank you enough for taking time out of your day to watch this video. And if you want to be just a little bit extra, go ahead and click that like or that thumbs up button too. So out of all of those tools, were there any that were a surprise to you? What is your most favorite tool that you have in your craft room, or a supply that you like to use? Leave a comment down below. I really want to know, in case there's something that I'm missing. But I just wanted to share with you my favorite 24 items, and there's more. There's always more, but those work really well for me, and they're affordable. There's only 2 items that I have in my craft room that I would consider really expensive, and that is the AutoPress and my Cricut machine. But I use those things so much, it really is a worthwhile investment. And that is how I look at the tools that I use for my crafting. It's an investment because then I get to bring videos to you and I get to make some really nice things, and I'm not frustrated because I don't have the right tool for the job. You know what I mean? And like I said, the links are in the description box below in case you want to check these things out for yourself. And I'm always looking for a bargain, so believe me, you're not going to hurt my feelings if you don't click on one of those links below. And hopefully these tools will help make it easier for you when you're doing your crafts so that you can actually enjoy the time that you're getting to spend on creating and making something really awesome.